There was no way she could have known, but this was the moment that Brianna Ghey left her home for the last time.
Tonight, a sanctuary of peaceful celebration and expression torn apart by every pull of the trigger.
Upon my death, I would like to pass the land on to you, Dale, for all the help you've given me.
Score!
Actor Jonathan Joss, best known as the voice of John Redcorn on King of the Hill, shot and killed by a neighbor in Texas. He was 59 years old.
Pride was a riot. Not a photo op, not a brand deal, not a marketing campaign, a riot. It began with bricks and sirens, with black and brown trans women fighting back police brutality at the Stonewall Inn in 1969. And yet, more than 50 years later, we're still told to be quiet, to wait, to respect the process. In the United States, as a matter of fact, gay marriage wasn't federally legalized until 2015. And that's only a decade ago. Globally, of course, it's worse. As of today, same-sex marriage is illegal in over 60 countries. And in many of them, being gay or queer in any way is punishable by prison or even death. So when people say that pride is unnecessary, remember this. It was never just about celebration. It was, and still is, about survival.
Saturday wait, Sunday always.
People like to say, be proud of who you are, but then when you actually are, they call you too loud, too political, and too fucking inappropriate. Behind the glitter and music is a very, very dark truth about the world. In 2023, 16-year-old Brianna Ghey was murdered by two teenagers in a park in a targeted transphobic attack. Her killers did not act on impulse. They completely planned it. They targeted her because she was transgender. Not a crime, not a message many people took to heart of how far people will go just to set things as what they think is right, even if it involves murdering an innocent fucking 16-year-old. These messages echo from country to country, disguised as laws, policies, and fucking protests. In Florida, queer students are being erased from the classroom. No more rainbow flags, no more books about two moms or two dads. No more teachers are allowed to say the word gay. Across the UK, transgender healthcare access is under constant fucking attack. In Eastern Europe, pride marches are met with riot shields, not celebration. And online, millions of teens are absorbing it all, mocking, reposting, normalizing the idea that queerness is something shameful or even dangerous. But when the very places that are meant to protect and educate us turn their backs, when pride itself becomes the target of fear disguised as law, how do we keep fighting for a world where being ourselves isn't a crime, a controversy, or a threat? What happens when pride is no longer just a celebration, but a fucking battleground?
I posted a video of a young man verbally assaulting me in a parking lot, and these are some of the responses I got. Let's talk about everything that happened from the posting of that video to today.
The video that you just saw on screen right now is a bold, forceful, and most importantly, fierce reminder that behind every single law, every protest, every rainbow flag, and every single profile, and more importantly, behind every single screen, there's always a person. Could be a kid, could be an adult, could be a teen, simply trying to find their place in a world telling them they simply don't belong. For queer youth, these attacks are far from just abstract politics. They're personal battles fought in classrooms, bedrooms, and their own minds, for example, where acceptance feels distant and rejection feels all too fucking real. Back in early 2021, if you saw what happened on my channel, I was going through a gender identity crisis and I thought I might have been trans. What followed was a kind of relentless loop of bullying, confusion, self-hatred. Eventually, of course, I did realize that I wasn't trans, but still, the pain that I felt during that time was real, and it showed me how brutal and isolating that the experience of getting bullied can actually be. Now, imagine that struggle multiplied by thousands of queer kids who don't get the chance to explore their identity safely because schools erase their stories, silence their voices, and just make them feel fucking invisible. These are messages that just tell kids that they're wrong for existing. So, if we live in such a big world that keeps trying to erase us, then why does that same world and all of the corporations on it try and sell us rainbow t-shirts and glitter-covered slogans every fucking June? And, to make things a little bit clearer for everyone, those last images I placed there on purpose because guess what? I actually do work at a Dunkin' Donuts. And the worst part about that is we were supposed to get a Pride donut. They were trying to sell this exact same Pride that we've been seeing every single June, but it was optional. And guess what? The location that I work at, being specifically a very, very not so progressive area, a truck stop with lots of elderly and, you know, not so pride-loving people will come to visit. We never got it because we couldn't. We weren't allowed. We weren't allowed to show what we were. There are a lot of gay people there. I'm not just the only gay person at that Dunkin' Donuts. But still, we didn't get it because they're willing to market to everybody else, but we can't even show our pride at a Dunkin' Donuts.
The pleasure of Pride pushed aside this year by many companies, with corporate sponsors signaling reserve. Pride organizers dismayed.
The corporate model no longer is sustainable in the political climate that we live in today.
That's in St. Louis, seeing major changes this year. While in New York, NYC Pride saying it's dealing with a budget shortfall of more than $750,000 due to dips in corporate sponsorship.
Every single year, a rainbow shows up, whether it be on your soda cans, your local fast food bags or cups, sneakers, storefronts. Pride becomes a fucking product. A marketing strategy, a seasonal trend that the people always buy our products from. The people we think we can trust, they use us. But behind the glitter and all the hashtags, the same companies that stand with us will stay completely silent when our rights are under attack, or even worse, support those who are hating them. Or, in another case, like the video you just saw, calling for budget cuts. This is what happens when fear and greed collide. The fear of marketing backlash leads to watered down support and, budget cuts, of course, right? Half-hearted campaigns, making the sport of a marginalized group a simple option to play with, a toy, a logo with a rainbow to disappear the second July 1st arrives. Then there's greed. Greed turns pride into a profit machine, a cash printer, if you will. Selling visibility without responsibility. It's not about whether brands show up for pride, it's about how they show up and who they're really showing up for. So, if pride is really being sold off and our pain is being ignored, what happens to the next generation watching all of this chaos unfold? What kind of world are we here to live in, and what kind of world are we building when these young teens, are taught by example to fear and hate anyone who is different?
His stepfather hit him, so he socked him back and broke his nose. His house is a broken home, there's no control. He just lets his emotions go.
The clip you saw actually kind of makes me laugh in a sense, knowing very much that Aerosmith, well, specifically Steven Tyler, shares a personal story about a past sexual encounter with a man, and Eminem has a non-binary child, which, I don't know, that just makes me giggle, honestly. It's my favorite thing when these people, these like probably little kids, probably like 13, go say no to LGBTQ, and they put these harsh Sigma edits, and then they don't look up the people who are making these songs and who are singing the songs and even making the music that they are putting in these videos, and just not thinking for 2 seconds, oh, both these people have a very positive stance on the queer community. All the time, a new generation logs on, and for some reason, you don't see celebration with them. On sites like X, or previously Twitter, targeted hate is almost everywhere, no matter how hard you block it. For example, this is Operation Pridefall, one of the earliest examples of this targeted hatred, a planned campaign to flood social medias like X and Instagram with anti-LGBTQ plus propaganda during Pride Month. And it wasn't just trolls. It was a strategy planned, prepped, and executed to make queer people afraid to be visible. And unfortunately, it kind of worked. Teen forums, meme pages, kids growing up to learn that hating people for being different is fun. Hate is taught through irony, sarcasm, and normalized through repetition to make kids growing up absorb it like a fucking sponge without even realizing. The posters you're seeing on screen right now are political cartoons from way back during wars and stuff like that. What is something you see in common with these? I'll wait for you to just decide. They all involve hating a marginalized group. It's irony used to strike people. Now, what happens when the cruelty stops pretending to be a joke? What happens when the masks come off and the hatred becomes the punchline itself? Just a quick trigger warning for anybody who doesn't like these topics, but the next section includes talk about suicide and, yeah, many other dark topics. I am here, however, to say that there's always hope, and 988 is the international number for the suicide hotline. Please talk to someone. It's not worth it. And also, please kindly skip to this point in the video if you do not want to see this, because it's one hell of a story. Here's your little 5-second warning. 3, 2, 1, let's go. On May 2nd, 2025, 17-year-old Charlotte Fosgate, known online as Burnt Fishy, posted a chilling pair of tweets basically talking about and soon revealing to be her final public words. The first included a photo from a high bridge captioned, "It's a pretty view," with minutes later she followed with Long Way Down. And at the time of making this video, it's still being met with mockery, memes, and transphobic glee. She had been missing for nearly 24 hours prior to those final posts, and she was last seen the night of Friday, May 1st, in Oak Grove, Oregon. Authorities reported her as a missing and endangered minor known for severe mental health issues and a lack of medication. Authorities noted that she had a transit pass and may have used public transportation to travel to Portland. Recently, the webcomic artist known as Stone Toss, a figure that's been long associated with anti-LGBT and far-right content, shared a comic post mocking the suicide of a transgender girl. No coded language, no metaphor, just unfiltered fucking hate. And unfortunately, people laughed, people reposted, people celebrated. Whenever people would try and call it wrong, he would make another comic. This is where our pipeline leads, my friends. From ironic memes to direct mockery of children, she was fucking 17 years old. Stone Toss mocked the death of a 17-year-old girl. For fuck's sake. This is where our pipeline unfortunately goes down, my friends. This isn't simply just politics. This isn't just a culture argument. It's names, it's fucking lives, futures that were taken because of all the hate that we're getting in this fucking world. Brianna Ghey, a 16-year-old trans girl, was murdered in a park in England. Charlotte Fosgate, just 17, was driven to suicide while the internet laughed and mocked her. O'Shea Sibley, a gay black man, was stabbed to death in Brooklyn for dancing. Matthew Shepard, beaten and left to die on a fence because he was gay. Coco Dadal, a black trans woman and rising artist, was shot and killed in Atlanta. Countless others, known and unknown, were lost in a world that decided that their joy and that their fucking happiness was dangerous. That their visibility was a fucking threat. That their love, their gender, their pride was something to be punished for. Every single fucking name we've lost is a warning. A memory. A person who laughed, who cried, who loved, just like you. But they were just made to feel like they didn't belong. Their existence was turned into a debate about politics, and their identities became targets. And in the end, they were taken from hate, from silence, or from just a world that simply didn't care enough to protect them. Pride is never a party. It's not a brand. It's a fight to be seen, to live, to survive, and thrive. So, my friends, before the rainbow fades, before the month ends and the marketing stops, please take a moment and remember them. Say their names and promise yourself this: you will never, never let their stories be forgotten. My name is Dowoge, and please stay safe. Good night, everybody. There's no ending to this video. The names that I'm putting on screen right now will be all of the names that I could find of those people who were LGBTQ+ and were killed or driven to suicide or just are no longer here to tell their story pridefully. Goodbye.
Peace to the street! Students marched in Oxnard, California in memory of Lawrence Larry King. The 15-year-old student police say was gunned down by a classmate because he was openly gay.
Oh, Mrs. Shepherd, I heard about your son. He was filled with glory until hate's gone, and he cried at that fence like a scarecrow afraid as those boys beat him dry with the hands of hate.
McInerney was arrested a few blocks away from campus a short time later.
Lawrence King never saw ninth grade before that bullet was forced into his brain by a bully, a madman, a classmate of rage. Just at 15, young Larry was sent to his grave, and we join together in the arms of faith. Can we join together and learn not to wait? And we join together in the arms of faith. Can we join together and be one human race?
We jumped off the George Washington Bridge right into the Hudson River.
Well, our friend Tyler was forced off of a bridge after his roommates filmed an out at him making love to another the same sex as him, and the only sin that God saw was the roommates killing him.
Yes, he committed suicide. He jumped off the GW Bridge into the Hudson River last Wednesday. Police have found his car at the top of the bridge, his wallet.
Poor old Jamie always smiled and thrived, but as the slurs went on, he couldn't stay alive, and he took his own life on a cold September night, and the bullet